Hey folks, it's Dr. Spears. It's a Friday evening. I just went on a run. It was really hard, worked really hard to get in those steps, whatever you want to call it. And that reminds me of something. I'm on this run. I'm a little bit out of shape. And so I kind of want to slow down at the end. But then I remember things from track and how you got to kick it, which means you got to put it into overdrive on that last lap or however last distance that you need to be. You can't slow it down. You got to sprint and take it home as fast, as best as you can. And why am I telling you this? Because there's been some issues. Well, not issues, but I'm just working with some students who are thinking about pre-med coaches, pre-med advisors to help them on this process of getting into medical school, and they want to position themselves for their best chances of success. And these are usually really high performing students. They got really strong GPAs and extremely high percentile MCAT scores. So basically on paper, it looks like they're going to be a shoo-in, what they usually think or believe. But that's not always the case because there's a lot more than just the stats and the numbers. I tell you, that only gets you in the door, but then you got to distinguish yourself from everybody else who's applying. You got to remember there's over 53,000 people competing to get into medical school. What I find it very ironic is you get a lot of students who tell me, hey, Dr. Spears, I worked really hard as a pre-med student, so I deserve to go to a top 10 or top 20 medical school. I hear it all the time. And if they're saying it, maybe you said it. You got to realize the competition's saying the same thing. And now there's only a limited number of spots available across medical schools throughout the country. So now when you're trying to knock it down to the top 10 or top 20, that makes the margins even slimmer. And you have to be even more outstanding than just your typical did well pre-med student, well-rounded, because well-rounded doesn't get you into medical school. That just puts you as average and you don't stand out. You got to be remarkable. You have to be known for something for the admissions committee to remember you, because you got to think about this. If I'm a top 10 medical school and I get 12,000 applications for only 120 people in the incoming class, there's going to be a lot of times where I'm saying no and not yes to applicants. And so you need to, and basically we're looking for reasons to say no to you because it's just too many people to get through. So we're looking for the best of the best. And what that means is to be the best of the best, you certainly need to have the stats, but then you need to tell a story about yourself that makes it known, like, what are you going to bring to this medical school? What are you going to do for the field of medicine? And what are you going to do that's going to make me remember you out of everybody else who's applying? That's what you need to do. You need to also think about this from the perspective where by the time I look over your stats, by the time I look over your extracurricular activities, your personal statement, letters of recommendation, it should be very clear what you bring to the table, but more importantly, it should be a no-brainer for me to say, I want to meet this person, this applicant, in person. I want to grant them an interview, or I want to put them aside in a special pile because I really want this applicant to come to my medical school because there's a lot that they can do for us and for themselves in this partnership and this privilege of training to become a doctor, physician. And so that's kind of what you need to think about and keep at the top of your mind when you're doing this process of applying to medical school. Because I see students, yeah, they're all making the same mistakes, and you think you're exceptional, you think you're standing out, but I'm looking over extracurricular activities and you got to put me to sleep. Now, I'm telling you this, I tell the students the same thing as well. I'm like, this is not going to work. I've even told students, you need a complete rewrite on your personal statement. It's not going to be worth my time. It's not going to be worth your time for me to even go through and critique this line by line, even paragraph by paragraph, because it's just not where it needs to be. I give you constructive feedback and say you need to work this here, change that here. Can we think about a different story? Do you have some other topics, any other examples that you can use for that to help it beef it up, make it a little bit stronger? So I'll help you do that, but you just got to remember 53,000 people applying. It's not easy. And people always say, what happened? I thought I was a shoe-in. I had the stats. I had the numbers. Everybody was telling me that I'm going to be in medical school. They can't wait to see me at my white coat ceremony. Parents, friends, so happy about that you made it in. You're basically going to be set for life as a doctor. But it doesn't always happen. It doesn't happen because you got to really think everybody else wants the same thing as you, and there's just not enough seats available. So we're a couple weeks out from applications being submitted to the medical schools. I think with the COVID-19 situation that they now pushed back that date for when they're actually going to start transmitting applications to July 10th. It was previously June 26th, so that gives you a little bit of time. So we can just do the math. We're at May 15th, so 30 days. So almost about 2 months and a half or so, give and take on that. And so I do have some spots available if you would like to work with me during this application process to really put yourself in like a different stratosphere compared to everybody else who's applying to medical school. And I can guarantee you're going to be blown away. You're going to be amazed at the things I see and what I observe and how we spin things in your application, because my mantra is we turn negatives into positives. So we do that all the time with students, and it totally works. And you're going to be in the best of hands if you were really serious about getting into medical school. And you guys might think, oh, Dr. Spears is kind of being a little bit harsh in what I was saying about these personal statements and all of that. Like, it really can't be that serious. Yes, it is that serious. And I like to tell people this. I'm not actively sitting on admissions committee, and so that's advantageous to you. So when you hear bad news from me, that's a good thing. You have a chance to correct it, amend it, and edit it before you submit it. However, if you hear bad news when you submit your application, that's the end of the road, end of the story, game over, because it's for the medical schools themselves. And once they say no, you don't have any recourse or any backup option. So you just got to keep that in mind with this process. So again, Dr. Spears, you can find me at drpremed.com. That's the website, and look forward to working with you guys in this process of successfully getting you into medical school.